Before we get to the specific treatments and the recent IPO, just explain to viewers exactly what the company does using technology to identify antibodies and then develop drugs out the back of that.
Thanks for that. Yeah, AbCellera was founded 8 years ago with a vision to change the way that we do early stage drug development. And in particular, how we do the development of drugs that are based on antibodies, which are molecules that are made by the immune system. So we have been taking an approach of investing very aggressively in building technologies and capacity that can serve as an operating system for the industry. And we partner with small biotech, innovative companies, new discoveries coming out of academia, all the way up to some of the largest companies like Eli Lilly to help them to more quickly and successfully meet their goals of bringing ideas into drugs that can be tested and ultimately can be approved for use with patients.
And clearly grabbing the headlines in the last 6 months or so has been your partnership with Lilly developing your treatment for COVID-19. What portion of your business is that, and is that why you chose to go public in December to capitalize on all of those headlines?
Terrific question. So, in the last few years, we have either worked on or signed up to work on over 100 different therapeutic discovery programs. Those touch all areas of therapeutic development, from cancer to inflammation, and of course, also in infectious disease. The work on COVID-19 clearly has been high profile, given the urgency. And for us, that was a big boost in the IPO, I think mostly because it underscores the thesis and the business model that we're taking to the market, which is investing in technologies that help us to much more quickly go from an idea to a treatment that can be delivered to patients, and doing that not by ourselves, but rather by collaborating with other groups that bring complementary expertise. In this case, the manufacturing, the clinical and commercial development of Eli Lilly, as well as the excellent work with researchers at the Vaccine Research Center at the NIH.
Carl, it's Sarah. Here's what I don't get about these antibody treatments. These are game changers and lifesavers, and they were meant to keep people out of hospitals. And they're on the market, and they've been approved for use, and we are seeing record hospitalizations. So what's the problem?
Well, I think it is important to understand, for everyone to understand, what bamlanivimab, the antibody therapy, is. This is best framed as synthetic immunity. So if someone gets sick early on, in the first few days of infection, getting a dose of bamlanivimab can help you have the protection that you would have had if you had been vaccinated and responded appropriately before that. The data that has been in, and that was the basis for an emergency use authorization in the US and Canada, has shown that bamlanivimab is a safe treatment, and it is one that can have a very substantial effect on reducing the risk of ending up in the hospital. So what we have seen is that by treatment early, the chance of going to the hospital is reduced by 70 to 80%. And of course, that is a very big deal when we're having an upsurge in the pandemic and the medical centers are overrun with cases. So it is imperative that we work as a team across the private sector, the public sector, the medical centers, to make sure that we're doing this last mile effort to get that therapy to patients. And we are seeing that that's happening in many locations, and that's a great example for others to follow.
I guess my follow-up would be, how practical is it if it's approved for people that aren't hospitalized but can only be administered in the hospital through an IV? How does that actually work? I mean, it seems like that's a bit of a barrier. Are you looking at ways to make it transmitted in other ways, through a nebulizer or something that might make it easier to go to your doctor and get it, or even do it at home?
Also a great question. I should probably start by emphasizing that AbCellera is a company that works on the front end of discovery. And in our partnership with Eli Lilly, they have full control over the clinical development and the commercial development. That said, we know that they are working with the medical practitioners that deliver the drugs and figuring out what are the best ways to solve these logistical problems, whether that is home infusions, whether that is infusion centers, or just separate wards of the hospital. That's an important step. Probably the biggest step is for the medical community and patients to know that this drug exists and that it is an option. And if you qualify in a high-risk group, it is something that could well make a difference in keeping you out of the hospital or not.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.